Is it possible to change anyone's minds anymore? Is it difficult to do so? Or is it too easy? In 1951, psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a study where a group of test subjects were shown a card with a straight line drawn on it. Then they were asked to match that line's length with one of a series of lines on a second card. On occasion, a fake test subject embedded in the study would deliberately select a line of the wrong length. Now, shockingly, 37% of the time, the other members in the group would also choose the wrong length rather than stand out. Forced to choose between their peers and what their delicious eyeballs were telling them, they followed the herd. In 2003, Professor Jeffrey Cohen conducted a study with people who identified either as ideologically conservative or liberal, but were passionate about welfare. They were asked to choose between two fake welfare policies, one that was extremely generous to its recipients and one that was very austere. Both contained either high praise from Democrats and criticism from Republicans, or the reverse. It actually didn't matter what the policy was. As long as the party endorsed it, liberals would choose the harsh policy and conservatives would support the lavish one. Once the policy was defined as either socially liberal or conservative, the persuasive impact of its objective content was reduced to nil. In September of 2020, my Aunt Meryl was on the phone with her sister, my mother. Her TV was droning on in the background when suddenly a news report came on. Enormous wildfires were ravaging the western United States, forcing their way into homes and eating the people inside, forcing thousands to flee and decimating millions of acres of land. Climatologists have agreed for years that man-made climate change contributes significantly to the size, duration, and frequency of fires all across the world. My beloved Aunt Meryl casually mentioned, global warming is a scam. Communists trying to ruin the economy. My mother started to cry. You see, Aunt Meryl has been making strange claims lately. Things like Steven Spielberg is a satanic pedophile, or coronavirus is a hoax, or even Donald Trump is doing a fantastic job. But even so, her remarks on global warming were the last thaw. Who was this person? Where was the Meryl that Mother had known and loved for so many years? Most importantly, Mother was concerned for Meryl's safety. Her favorite TV show is Hannity, hosted by authoritarian propagandist Sean Hannity, who has endorsed such views that the coronavirus is a fraud perpetuated by the deep state. A recent study reported that areas with higher viewership of Hannity's show actually have increased numbers of coronavirus infections and deaths. Mom tried everything she could think of to dissuade Meryl from these strange new views, but to no avail. That's when she called me. I was surprised to hear from her. Our relationship had also been strained recently. I too have been acting a bit differently, running with a new herd. But she needed me, so she reached out. You understand so much about brains, she said. Maybe you can help. And it's true. In a former life, I was a neuroscientist. I agreed to visit Aunt Meryl, with the mask, of course. First, we would tackle her views on climate change. Those should be the easiest. The evidence is overwhelming. Then, We could tackle COVID, satanic pedophiles, even Donald Trump. If only she knew the facts, I told myself. If only she saw the right graphs, watched the right documentary, read a scientific study. Surely our shared human desire for knowledge, for education, for brains would lead us to the truth. It didn't. You see, Aunt Merrill, I said, people believe in lies because they have been lied to. Internal documents from Exxon and other fossil fuel corporations show that they knew about the effects of climate change decades ago and covered it up. Merrill was unmoved. They were motivated by greed, I said. They hired the same people who lied about the health effects of smoking to lie about the effects of climate change. Nothing. Look, over 200 scientific organizations around the world, the United Nations International Panel on Climate Change, and a body of nearly 12,000 independent, peer-reviewed scientific studies have all come to the same conclusion. Climate change is real. It is man-made, and it is dangerous. I don't trust scientists, she said. Don't trust scientists? Why ever not? I am a scientist. All they say is they need more research. They need more research. It's more like they need more money. They are the greedy ones. Ah, I said, that's a common misperception perpetuated by the fossil fuel industry. You see, science is a rigorous discipline. We deal in evidence, not in absolutes. It's a method. First, you start with a hypothesis. When I want to know something, Aunt Merrill interrupted, I Google it. I find it on YouTube. I can do my own research. I can think for myself. I could only moan in response. That's staggering to hear, and I stagger a lot. But then slowly, from the recesses of what remains of my brain, I recalled teachings from my undergraduate social psychology course. Principally, that more information about climate change can actually lead to more skepticism. Multiple studies have found that increased education and self-reported knowledge about climate change will only strengthen the resolve of people that already support the science, but weaken it in those who don't. In other words, people use their delicious, pulsating brains to justify the arguments that they already believe, not just with indifference to scientific evidence that they're shown, but actually in spite of it. Facts don't matter. The lies won't die. No matter how many times they're exposed, shot to pieces, chopped with an axe, or cut off at the knees, the lies keep coming, gnawing at the population. But not all of the population. 78% of Democrats surveyed in 2020 said that climate change should be a top priority for the government. In contrast, only 21% of Republicans believe that it's a top priority. So why does political affiliation drive a divide on an issue where scientific evidence is so decisive? Scholar Lillian Mason says that American political parties have become socially polarized. A single vote can tell you not only an individual's partisan preference, but also their religion, race, gender, neighborhood, even favorite grocery store. Partisanship has become a mega identity with all of the behavioral and psychological magnifications that this implies. To admit the severity of coronavirus means to admit that a beloved leader is wrong. To admit the reality of man-made climate change negates the rightness of a free market capitalist economy and negates a fundamental belief that God and not man is in control of the universe. Professor Jonathan Haidt says, once group loyalties are engaged, you can't change minds even if you utterly refute an argument. In Merrill's case, she was showing symptoms of what evolutionary neurologist Dr. Jorge Romero has deemed herd impunity. The belief, however wrong, that as long as one is with one's tribe, one's people, one's herd, one is safe from the elements that antagonize them, even if those elements put the herd in danger. Paradoxically, one of the surest signs a human is suffering from herd impunity is how strongly they insist that they are thinking for themselves. All humans suffer from one form of herd impunity or another, but Dr. Romero makes the provocative claim that humans exhibiting especially strong signs of herd impunity no longer need their frontal lobes to function. For the sake of science, I decided to test Dr. Romero's hypothesis. So I lowered my mask, shuffled 6 feet towards Aunt Merrill, and began a different type of conversation. Aunt Merrill gave me a lot to chew on. I'm still digesting a lot of it, but I'd like to think I gave her something in return. She now expresses the same fascinations with brains that I do. Recently, my mother called, and I was happy to tell her that yes, I did find a way to change Aunt Merrill's mind.